Welcome to Season 4 of the Changing Earth podcast with Sara F. Hathaway, blending survival fiction and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sara F. Hathaway.
Hi, welcome to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 156, Season 4, episode 32. So we're getting pretty deep in the battle for the South. I'm working very diligently on book number 5, and it is coming along so great. It's going to be really epic. So definitely getting very, very excited about trying to get that finished. And right now I'm just writing some big battle scenes and pulling topo maps and doing my research. So definitely exciting stuff brewing on that front. I want to give a shout out to the Budget Equestrian, my newest Patreon member. Thank you so much for your support and your contributions, keeping the show going. And I really appreciate that. So I've been getting a lot of login requests for my membership site on my website. And in order to become a member of the Changing Earth podcast, you need to be an active Patreon member. So if you want to get signed up and have access to all the goodies that are over there on my website for Patreon members, head on over to www.patreon.com/changingearth. That's www.patreon.com/changingearth. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I just want to roll right into the podcast because I have a great interview for you today. It's another lengthy one, but it is definitely worth it. I have Ben Brenham back on the show, and he is going to talk to us about improving pistol skills. So he is a wealth of information on this topic. Don't worry about taking notes. I have the page that has it all ready for you guys over on my website, author.sarafhathaway.com. Go to the Changing Earth Survival Guide, and you'll find all that you need to know right there under the Survival School link. So all the podcasts are over there, all the great information. So don't worry about taking notes. Just soak in the information, and then you can go over there and pick up the information that you need to know afterwards. So today in the Battle for the South story, last week, the family had this nice little R&R time. They were just kind of chilling. Erica needs to heal up a little bit. Just a couple of days of relaxation before they're going back into training to go in and do the Las Vegas mission. So this week they meet their new drill officer and interesting character that enters the story. So that's a lot of fun to bring this character into play. And then, he goes and assesses their skills, see where they're at, how they're doing on, teamwork, rifle shooting skills, self-defense skills, pistol shooting skills. And pistol shooting skills is an area that's identified as needing improvement. That's why I have Ben Brenham back on the show, and he is going to just blow your mind with all the great tips and tricks that he has to share with you. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into Chapter 32 of Battle for the South. Chapter 32. Erica always hated waking up early in the morning, but this morning she was ready to go. Vince was impressed with her upbeat attitude so early in the day. He handed her a cup of coffee. Star and Dexter were relaxing with a cup at the table. They tried to move around quietly, but they ended up waking the whole family. The sun was just rising, and the evening air held back the impending heat of the day. They hustled over to the training field, knowing from experience that showing up late on the first day would not be received well. When they finally arrived, Erica was surprised to see Bennett talking with a higher-ranked officer. He was a large man and looked Bennett in the eyes. Smith and Jensen chatted with another soldier Erica didn't recognize. "Excellent, you guys made it on time," the man Bennett had been talking to addressed them as they walked up. "Yes, sir," Erica replied quickly. "Erica Moore, my husband Vince, and my daughter Star, sir." "First Private Moore reporting as ordered, sir," Dexter said. He felt awkward to be reporting without Trucker. But they would have to go in the thermal cloaks, and Trucker couldn't be concealed that way. "Fall in, soldier," he directed Dexter. Dexter jogged over to get in line with Smith, Jensen, and the other man. "Master Gunnery Sergeant Ben Nicholton," he said, extending his hand toward Erica, Vince, and Star in turn. "Thank you three for coming. I understand you have experience with the Las Vegas facility. We're going to work very hard during the next 3 weeks to make sure you are 100% ready to get through that facility safely. Thank you, sir, for helping us achieve that goal, Erica answered crisply. Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton raised his eyebrows, impressed by her response. I thought you said she was a handful, Bennett, Nicholton commented, winking at Erica. We're all here to work, sir, Bennett replied, smiling slyly at her. Then fall in, people, Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton ordered. This is the insertion team. Staff Sergeant Sebastian White is a specialist in covert operations, and First Sergeant Bennett will be leading the team, he explained as he walked them out to an obstacle course. Let's get those heart rates pumping. The course I have designed for you will require you to work together. Lieutenant Colonel Burgess suggested you might be lacking in that area. Miss Moore, I understand you have stitches in your arm that won't come out for a few days. I want you to take it easy on your upper body and stay out of the dirt, Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton stressed. Yes, sir, she replied. Each piece of the course required at least 4 people to complete. Erica and Dexter were teamed with Bennett and Smith. Vince and Starr were teamed with Jensen and White. They spent the morning sweating, helping one another climb over walls, descend cliffs with ropes, and complete puzzles after running and doing push-ups. The exercises were designed to keep their brains alert while their muscles were burning. Plus, they had to keep their calm and work together. The coordinated efforts tested the patience of the team members, and there was arguing and dissension. The 2 teams scored closely, but Nicholton laughed at their times and said it made him throw up a little in his mouth when he looked at them. Vince and Staff Sergeant White hit it off immediately. They both had a strange sense of humor, and both had rooted for the Vikings before the Great Quake. At lunch, both teams were starving. The rehydrated slop tasted especially good. Erica was rejuvenated when Daniel stopped by for a visit. He was allowed into the classroom that they went to for the afternoon. There was a huge map of the Las Vegas facility, and Bennett and the Moore family tried to fill in any gaps they had. Besides getting the mercenary officers and family members out, the team was there to make certain that the garden facilities were not sabotaged before the mercenary invasion force could infiltrate it. Vince was familiar with the gardens. He used to oversee their management. He was chosen to ensure their safety until the invasion force could take it. It was also a key point because the train could unload and load outside of them, hold the gardens, and they could get the prisoners out on the train. After hours of looking at the map, they headed out to the shooting range. Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton wanted to assess their shooting skills under pressure. Gunfire would be an absolute last resort, but if they did need to shoot, it had to be pinpoint accurate. The Master Gunnery Sergeant was happy with their rifle skills, but not so impressed with their pistol skills. He assigned them a series of exercises that they could practice to improve. Erica eagerly soaked up the information and spent many hours after that with a quarter on her pistol, dry firing it at the wall. She would have to pull the trigger without letting the quarter fall. While they were out on the range, Dexter started bragging about his skills with his throwing knives. The young man had practiced diligently for hours to hit his mark effectively. Oh yeah, Dex. You were right on target when we rescued your parents, Bennett teased. I still hit him, didn't I, sir? Dexter pushed back, feeling defensive. Yeah, in the forehead with the back of your knife, Bennett teased him more. Then it landed in his foot, sir, Dexter defended. Vince and Erica sat chuckling with Starr. No one had heard this story yet. Dexter was growing redder in the face. He was offended by Bennett's banter and his family's amusement. What? What happened? Staff Sergeant White asked. Bennett explained the story, putting emphasis on Dexter's botched shot. I'd like to see you do it, Dexter challenged Bennett, forgetting his etiquette again. He handed Bennett his knives. The young man assumed Bennett didn't have the talent because he had never seen him throw a knife before. No problem, he took the knives. Go stand in front of the wall, Dex, he commanded. What? Dexter questioned. What, sir? Bennett corrected. Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton stood by amused. Erica looked to him, hoping he would stop this. Get up against the wall, First Private Moore, Bennett ordered. Yes, sir, Dexter acquiesced, heading for the wall. First Sergeant, don't, Erica pleaded. Relax, Cupcake, Bennett told her. Erica looked to Vince. He had an uneasy smile on his face. Bennett started throwing the knives. The first one stuck in the wall next to Dexter's leg. The second and third landed on either side of his hips. The fourth and fifth landed next to his shoulders. The sixth knife flew right at his head. and cut the very top of his ear a tiny bit as it stuck in the wall. Ow! You missed! You hit me, Dexter delighted in Bennett's error. I didn't miss. That's a reminder not to challenge your superior officer again, Bennett snapped. Yes, sir, Dexter replied humbly. The incident dampened the spirits of the group, and Dexter left to go see the medic. Was that necessary? Erica asked as they went to get food. He gets sloppy with his protocol. He needed a reminder, Bennett answered her. Whatever, Erica shook her head at him. Don't make me have to give you a reminder, Bennett answered her. Oh, really? Erica jested, getting into a sparring stance. I'll kick your ass. She punched in the air at him. He chuckled at her and grabbed her up in a big bear hug. Oh, you're going down, Erica teased as he roughed her up. The rest of the team laughed at their antics. When they got to the chow line, Bennett left to go sit with the officers. Erica watched him laughing with Master Gunnery Sergeant Nicholton. They're friends from the past, Erica speculated. She noticed Bennett didn't eat until the whole team had finished their meals first, and this surprised her. After dinner, they were free to go. Erica soaked up the moments she had with Daniel. They painted and worked on his reading and mathematics. He was quite the reader now, and had studied every history book they had found. It fascinated him to know about the world that had existed before the Great Quake. He studied the wars that had engulfed the globe. His way of looking at life surprised Erica at times. He was confused why people would destroy their own world. To him, disaster was caused by Mother Nature. After the northern invasion he witnessed, the unbelievable reality of human nature hit home. An interesting day of training as Erica settles down to spend some time with Daniel at the end of the day. And their pistol shooting skills were an area that needed improvement. Here to talk to us today about how you can improve your pistol shooting skills is Ben Brenham. Ben Brenham is a firearms instructor. He's been featured on seasons 2 and 3. He's loved shooting since the first time he pulled a trigger at the age of 8. During high school, he volunteered at his local PD, where he learned more about handguns. He joined the Marine Corps infantry after high school, and he was a reserve for 10 years with 2 years of active duty, 1 tour in Iraq in 2003. He worked for an armored car company for almost 7 years, mostly in the LA area of California. During all that, he also got a degree in law enforcement and went through 2 different police academies. Being a cop never worked out, but through it all, he's always been training people to fight. He spent all of 2008 in Iraq, again as a private contractor defending a base. There, he got to teach and train with the U.S. Army and others. Now, he wants to bring that experience and his joy of teaching to others. He loves teaching firearms, and he wants the good people of the world to be able to defend themselves. It's his mission and his purpose in life, and if you want to learn more about Ben and his awesome podcast that he has, it's always a wealth of information over on Ben's podcast as well. You can get a hold of him at www.modernselfprotection.com. And it's the Modern Self-Protection Podcast. So www.modernselfprotection.com. Let's go ahead and welcome Ben to the show. Today, I am back with Ben Brenham. Ben, thank you so much for coming back on the show. I super appreciate your time.
I'm excited to be here. I love your workflow. I love your books. I love what you're doing out there in California, and I'm just happy to be a small little tiny part of it that can help you out.
Well, thank you, because it's so nice to have, guests that now I have these really cool relationships with and friendships, and, I really value it. So thank you. Yeah, we're pulling for the Californians out here that are still self-sufficient and making their way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more of you out there than most people think of. You're just all hiding.
Yes.
All of you rise up as one, and then Los Angeles would be like, what? Who are these people? What happened?
Where did they come from? We didn't know they were out there in the mountains.
I thought those people only existed in places like Texas.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. So you got some classes going on. We got some classes still coming up, a fun one in Arizona. So why don't you go ahead and share your podcast and then what you got going on with your classes?
My podcast is Modern Self-Protection, and you can find it at modernselfprotection.com and all the really good podcast catchers, iTunes and all that good stuff. I just do everyday self-defense stuff. And it's not always guns. Some of it's guns and some of it's other stuff, and most of it's mindset and things that you can actually use today to make yourself safer and your family safer. So I'm kind of proud of that little niche I'm carving out for myself. I want to give people information that they can use in their life, like right now, to be better, not something that you need to learn in the next 20 years, like right now. So go check out the podcast. You'll find that. And I also do firearms courses because they're a lot of fun. And 20 years of studying gunfighting, I'm trying to pass the knowledge along. I've got a course coming up in Arkansas in September. If you're in the area, go check out the course. It's at modernselfprotection.com/courses. This one's going to be a great one. I'm teaching with a local teacher named Jody Box. He's a Masada Ayub disciple, great shooter in his own right. He outshot me at this competition we had the other day. I was really mad at him. And he outshot me at one, and then I outshot him at the other, and I was laughing at him, and then he laughed at me. But you know how that goes. But he's a great shooter. He's going to teach you how to shoot faster, and we're going to do really unusual fighting positions from your back, from your side, from your butt, all that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a 2-day course. It'll be well worth your money. I guarantee you'll have a good time and learn a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, once you start moving around, because that's one of the, I train with my friend who's a former sheriff sergeant, and that's one of the first things he got. Okay, stand at the range and shoot. Okay, now we're gonna start moving around. What? Moving with a gun? That everybody's like, yeah, I'm real good on the range, but it's like once you start moving, it's so many different dynamics involved there that it's just really mind-boggling, and it seems like you have to learn all over again.
It's a never-ending quest for knowledge is really what it is, and so it's a lot of fun. 20 years I've been studying pistol fighting now, and I keep going, and I keep finding guys that are doing stuff differently and new, and I'm like, ooh, that's awesome. Let me go try that. And some of it's like, oh, yeah, that's my new technique. Or some of it I'm like, ooh, that's not a good idea. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. So all the classes that I teach, I give kind of I've proven it out myself and against my background in combat and being in, I'm trying to think now, 11 gunfights where I actually saw the enemy. They saw me. I fired at them. They fired at me. And then a bunch of other times that I was just shot at. So I can prove that stuff. I can look at that new technique and go, well, in that situation when that guy was shooting at me, that would not have worked, not at all. Mm-hmm. It looks good on the range, though. So that's the kind of stuff that I try to bring to the table and teach everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, anything we can do, we want to talk about the future and, this might happen, that might happen. Well, that's all great, but to be able to get those real world skills that will help you in your daily life is just, that's priceless. So try to do that, but then we also go do some thought processes too on the Changing Earth podcast. We go through some different areas and we do real life skills. So best of both worlds. So speaking of, in this chapter of the novel, Bennett is now leading, they're in their training time again. I love training sequences. Like you could picture the music in the background of like them all training and doing the obstacle courses and everything. And
all I think about is the Rocky theme all the time.
Right? Yeah. That's the eye of the tiger. No, don't listen to my singing. That's why I'm not a singer. But so they're doing this training procedure. They have a new master gunnery sergeant in there to make sure that, they have team cohesion. And it's going to be really important because they got to get in quietly. They're not supposed to, fire a whole lot when they're going in so they don't alert the forces that they're in there. So I wanted to talk to you about just exercises that we can do with our pistols to improve our skills. So now we're in the training squad with them, and you're the training sergeant, So I really want to just let you take it into your hands on this episode and teach.
Well, awesome. It all starts with the safety stuff, which I'm assuming most of you listening to this podcast have talked to that before. Jeff Cooper's 4 rules before we talk about doing any of this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a bunch of dry practice and live skills you can do. Dry practice, no ammo in the room, triple check everything, shoot at something. I say shoot, but click at something that would stop a bullet if you accidentally shot it and that you wouldn't hurt anybody. One of those things. So I'm trying to quadruple my safety here, and I'm hedging my bets as a lawyer kind of thing here. Don't do anything that would be unsafe. But learn that safety stuff first, and that's where you always start. And I'm sure most of you listening to this don't want to hear a safety brief and a safety lecture. So I'm just going to say it's on you. Go get some frickin' safety if you don't know what I'm talking about. If you don't know Jeff Cooper's 4 rules of gun safety, you do not have the education you need. Go educate yourself. Google it. It's there. We'll skip all that and we'll go right to the next thing. I know in the book they talked about getting the penny drill a lot, and that one's a great start on the trigger control. On pistol, a lot of what you're going to do is all how you work the trigger. And there's a billion thoughts about it, but it really comes down to, can you make the gun go click without it moving? So if you put the penny on the slide and you can press the trigger without it falling off, that's a good start. So that's really a basic. And depending on what kind of gun you have, it changes that a lot. For you guys that are shooting a Glock and you put a penny on top of the Glock and the Glock slide is like bigger than the penny, if you drop the penny, you just know if you're running a 1911 and you can barely get that because it's around the top slide and you can barely get that coin to balance there, now you're going to be doing it better. So kind of it's a fun game to play, and the penny is just a really basic start. And if you can do it, it's time to go to the next thing. Yay, next thing.
It's tough. It's actually, well, I thought it was pretty hard. I don't know. I guess I over muscle it. I'm always trying to be strong, I guess, and I over muscle. So I've been trying that one, and I'm like, okay, just calm down, like pull it nice and easy. So.
And the penny drill is a great one if you have a friend, because you have to cycle the slide every time on most of the autoloaders. It was really developed with the revolver in mind, where you had to sweep through and you could just keep going click, 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 click with the penny on there. Mm-hmm. So that one's a cool one. But if you have a friend that can reset the slide for you and hold the penny, or hold the penny while you reset the slide, then drop the penny back on there, it helps. And I got to tell you, if I was training as part of the Master Guns here, I would make them do it in pairs, because that way you don't get tired. So one guy is clicking away, and one guy or girl, I'm sorry, Sarah, or girl, is putting the coin on there. And then once the guy that's actually doing the shooting or the dry fire clicking, once he gets tired, they switch. And if you switch every 5 minutes, you get a break from your mind and your muscles, and it'll make your skills go faster. So there's a little tidbit right there for you.
I can get my husband involved.
That would be awesome. Let me know how that goes, because when you figure it out, I need to get my wife involved. She thinks I'm an annoyance when I'm drive practicing and she's watching a movie.
Well, that I could imagine. I don't do a lot of movie watching, though. I do a lot of the practicing. So
yeah,
it's kind of a flip-flop.
I went into shotgun again real big for a little while. So I'm working with the pump action shotgun, and that is the loudest thing ever when somebody's trying to watch a movie and I'm trying to run the shotgun. But that was fun. So this drive practice is where you can learn about 90% of all your skills. So we start with the trigger, and I like the penny drill, and especially when you have a friend you can switch off with. The other one to really master the trigger pull, and you notice I didn't say, trigger press or do it this way or do it that way. Mm-hmm. A lot of that is just all tricks of the trade that we pick up, and it works different for everybody. Shooting off the pad of your finger, right? If you're out there, you heard that. I'm sure you've heard that, Sarah. You got to shoot off the pad of your finger, which was the fingerprint of the middle part. I cannot shoot a modern gun like that to save my life. I shot a 1911 for almost a decade off of that pad, and I could rock a 1911. When I switched to a Glock, couldn't figure it out until somebody said, well, the Glock was designed more to be like a double-action revolver. And I'm like, oh, look, the grip is the same angle as a double-action revolver. And you know what? If you shoot it like a double-action trigger instead of a single-action trigger by putting, Masada Yub calls it the power crease, or that first crease of your finger across the trigger, son of a gun, I can run a modern striker-fired gun. It works. Like, I can hit what I'm shooting at, and I can go fast, and all this stuff. And I don't have to push the sights all the way over because I'm pushing the round to the left all the time. So all this other stuff is all the tricks of the trade that work for you. Huh. How you learn that stuff, and the real stuff, is I call it a wall drill. Is if you find a builder white wall, which we all have somewhere, right, in our houses. Right. And again, all the safety stuff, no ammo in the room. But if you get close to that wall, and when you extend your arms out and hold the gun like you think you should, and you align your sights, you should be a good foot from the wall or closer. All you'll see is white background in that front sight. when you press the trigger and it goes click, does that front sight move at all? If the front sight is rock solid and doesn't move, you're doing it correctly. If the front sight dips or pushes to one side or the other or raises a little bit, you did it wrong. Try it again. And the wall drill is really the way I think you can master a trigger pull without ammo.
Without ammo, yeah.
And if you get, and the trick behind the wall is that you don't have anything else to focus on besides that front sight. So you can really see if it's moving or not. Is it moving because your hands are shaking because you've been holding the gun too long? Or is it moving because you pressed the trigger and it went click? Or are you trying to, when we try to do it on a target that's out there, you're trying to muscle the gun a little bit or move it on to align the sights to do your sight alignment and sight picture. All I'm looking at is your trigger press when you're up against the wall, because that's all you can see is that front sight. And when it goes click, you can see exactly through the trigger press of where it is or what happened. The other trick you can always use is modern day lasers. If you put a laser on the gun and watch the laser as you pull the trigger, you'll see what the gun does. But it's cheaper to use just the front sight and the wall.
Right.
So that, to me, that's how you master that trigger press. And for you, all you guys out there that think you're a master shooter and stuff, if you're not winning national championships with Bob Vogel and Rob Leatham and stuff, you're not a master of the trigger press yet. You need to go back to the wall drill. I use the wall drill all the time. It's a great way to go back to just the basic trigger press. And you find the exact way that you should be putting your finger on the trigger, how you should be gripping the gun and holding the gun, not for recoil control, but for accuracy. You can find all of that stuff out by just doing this simple wall drill. So that's one of the ones I would get in there, especially you guys that want to do long range marksmanship. If you're like me, I like to push the pistol. How far will the pistol go?
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but at 100 yards, I can hit the target about 8 out of 10 times on a man-sized torso target at 100 yards with my pistol standing there. Somebody bet me at a class a couple of years ago, because I carry out an LCR, a little tiny revolver, 1 7/8 barrel revolver, double action, only 38 special. Can I hit this target at 75 yards? Well, I hit it 2 out of 5 times at 75 yards with that itty bitty little gun. So all of this stuff is possible and it's fun. And I learned my trigger press by doing these wall drills. So master that trigger press and you can stretch your legs on that gun a long ways.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. I mean, that's really, like you say, it's where you got to start, is the all in the trigger pull. It's so much different than a rifle, you know. Yeah.
And then when you look at the difference between the rifle and the pistol, I was thinking about this the other day, and my point blank range for the pistol, where I can't miss, and if I just shove the pistol out there and fire it, is about 5 yards and in. I mean, I've stretched that, but most people it's about 3 yards and in, where if I put you on the range and just told you to stick it out there and press the trigger, you'd hit every time. Mm-hmm. With the rifle, if I put the rifle up to my face and actually point it out, my point blank range is about 25 yards and in. So the rifle is such a great, better tool for this stuff. It just extends out so much further than the pistol ever could. It's why everybody goes, oh, look, the rifle, you know, even in the story, they seem to be doing really good with the rifle. And then we want to match that skill with the pistol. And honestly, the weapon and the tool is just not going to happen. Jack Bauer running around with his pistol, fighting all these guys with a rifle. Yeah, in the real world, he would have been dead.
Right? Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I've kind of come to see that a lot because, as I was telling you before the show, you know, I grew up with rifles, shotguns, you know, and so to put a handgun in my hand was pretty foreign for me, just because the gun culture of my family was trap shooting and bird hunting, deer shooting, you know, things like that. So to have a pistol, I was like, wow, this is just like learning all over again how to shoot a bullet out of a tube, you know, because this is just so much smaller, so much louder. You know, it's difficult to move around with. I can move around much easier with a rifle. It seems to throw a lot of things off when you start moving with your pistol. And so, yeah, it's just challenging.
It seems to, yeah, every time I go, I think I'm getting really good with my pistol. I'll go train with my rifle, or I'll go to we have a local carbine match here that's kind of shot IDPA rules with rifles, and you can shoot your pistol too if you want to shoot outlaw. So I'll go in there and shoot my pistol against all these guys that are shooting rifle, and I'm like, yeah, I had a really good run, and like half of the people out here beat me with the rifle. Maybe this pistol thing, you know,
right.
a pistol is your last ditch weapon, really. Clint Smith says that you carry the pistol to fight your way back to the shotgun or the rifle. You should have never left. So, in the military terms, it really is. The pistols are last ditch. So you want to keep going? I got some other things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where do we go after the trigger?
Cool. The next couple things are up drills and presentation. Once you get those, then you're on your way to being a great pistol smith or handgun fighter, whatever you want to call yourself. So you got the trigger press going. Now we want to do an up drill. And an up drill is either you start at a ready position, wherever you want to decide your ready position is. So both hands on the gun at a 45-degree angle or both hands at the gun. I call it a compressed ready or a high compressed ready, where you just collapse your elbows and pull your elbows straight into yourself and bring the gun into yourself. Mm-hmm. And that way it's still pointed at the bad guy. My thoughts on all this stuff is if I have to pull my gun on somebody, that bad guy who was doing whatever I needed him to stop doing, he bears the full weight of his bad decision, which includes having me point my gun at him all the time. If the gun somehow magically went off, I'd rather have him take a round than it skip off the ground and hit somebody else. But hey, that's just me. So my ready position is a compressed ready, and some people do a high compressed ready where they'll bring their elbows out and the pistol all the way back to their face. If you see the new John Wick movie, John Wick 2, he uses kind of a high compressed ready. He brings that gun and looks down the slide all the time.
Okay.
He's kind of funny looking, but that's kind of a ready position. But if you bring that towards your chest, that would be a ready position, something that you could hold for a long time. And then you want to simply raise the pistol, point it straight at the target as fast as you can, kind of straight lines. And as the gun is coming up, you want to press that trigger. And as you see your sights, it comes into alignment, that gun should go click right as the sights align on the target. There should be no pause. There should be no slip. There should be no hesitation, and there should be no bounce.
Okay.
So it should be one fluid, perfect motion. That takes a long time to get to. If you shove that gun out there really, really fast, either up or down, however you go from the ready position to your firing position, that gun is going to bounce because your muscles have elasticity and stuff. So if you push them really fast, you get this little bounce.
Right.
And so you need to either fire before that, or you need to start really fast and slow down as your gun gets to full extension or to up, and press the trigger as the gun is being extended. So there should be no pause. That takes a long time. You want to start super slow. If you think you're moving like a glacier, you're probably moving too fast. Go slower. And then you get it to be one smooth motion where the pistol presents itself perfectly to your alignment and your sights, or your alignment. It presents perfect to where your eye is and where you see that you're looking on the target, and the sights just magically line up right there, and you press the trigger right as the sights come in alignment, and everything goes click. It takes a long time to learn and perfect. It's a hard skill, but it's the one that really will get you going. It's so that you know how to align your body perfect, you know how to present the gun towards the target perfect, and you can get everything moving at the same time. Really,
so we start at that ready position. Could you pull it from your holster and do that same drill, or?
Yes, but you're getting ahead of me.
Okay.
So
I did.
So Sarah's just an overachiever out there, everybody. She's one ahead of me. So yeah, that perfect one, you want to start with just the ready position because there's less stuff involved, and you can work on just one skill, and that's mastering getting that gun aligned perfectly where you want it every single time. And you can even start by turning and doing facing drills like this if you think you're getting bored. Like, look at a target towards your left and present the gun perfectly towards your left at whatever you're looking at, and have the same thing happen. So if you get bored, go do that, because it gets boring to stand there and move at half a mile an hour. Watch. So you can't see me right now, but I'll do it and I'll talk it through. So I go, okay, target, and I start presenting the gun. As I'm presenting, my hands are about halfway from my chest. I put my finger on the trigger. I start to squeeze the trigger. The gun comes up. I see the front sight. It sits in the back sight, and it goes click. So about that speed is where you need to start. So you're going to get a good upper body workout too.
Yeah, that's good. I can skip the gym that day.
Yeah, holding that gun up for a while is and that's part of the muscle workout, is you got to get those muscles in tune to what you're actually doing. So perfect alignment, perfect sight picture, it all goes click, and that right back to that penny drill and everything else, and that wall drill, That front sight shouldn't move. It should just go click and be perfectly where you left it.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah,
Okay.
once you master that, it'll start getting faster and faster, and soon you'll be trying to go slow, and it'll just go whoop, click, and you're like, huh, I didn't mean to be fast, but it was super fast. And that's what you're looking for. But
Yeah.
the slower you do it, the more you groove that mind in. I was on the range yesterday teaching somebody this. The more that you groove that thought into your mind, the more it's going to be perfect every single time you do it. When you just try to go fast, one, you don't see your mistakes, and two, you're going to, if you go fast to the reckless point, and I say reckless where your gun kind of bounced a little bit, that's as fast as you and good as you will ever get is right there. If you could slow it down, groove it, back to the military, master guns, Marine Corps, smooth is fast, fast is smooth. Do it smooth, and it will just get faster and faster and faster, and before you know it, you'll be super quick.
Yeah.
But if you try to go fast, you're going to screw it up.
I teach that same thing with kicks. To get the mechanics of the kick down instead of just trying to push the kick through any way possible just so you're quick at it. Because once you get the proper mechanics of it, then it's going to improve speed on its own as your muscles go and everything. So yeah, same concept. I get it. It would be challenging for me to go slow, as you said. A little bit of an overachiever. I get bored a little bit, but that's definitely something I need to spend an hour doing for sure.
Yeah, and if Gabe Suarez is pontificating that pistol katas, and for me, if you ever thought about a kata with a pistol, this would be the one to master. So, fun. I did not come up with any of this stuff. Some of this stuff was written back in 1908. I mean, Sykes has been doing this since, the early 1900s. He trained Bangkok police officers, and when he did this, he would make them do up drills for 2 days before they would touch a live round. So, hey, fun, right?
It works, right. Yeah,
but it works.
Yeah. We have places of our form where we have to do that, spend a whole week on just practicing this line. And it gets boring, but you do it proper when you're in the circumstance, when you need that move, it is there.
And that's the idea.
Yep.
So moving on from there, the other one you already mentioned, my overachiever, Sarah, is the presentation from your holster. And that needs to be situational dependent how you're doing it. So in the book, it would be, they have to ditch their rifle somehow. What are you going to do to ditch your rifle to present your pistol? That's a problem.
Right.
And here in America, if you're like me, I don't carry a rifle around because people frown upon it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Especially in California, if I walked in there with my AR and my body armor, people would be very upset.
Yeah, that would not fly very well.
Even in Texas, people look at you weird. They're like, "What are you doing, dude?"
Yeah, why are you doing that?
Here in the real world, we carry concealed pistols. So for you, that's carrying your concealed pistol, however you carry it. That includes from your bag, waistband, belly band, ankle, pocket. I pocket carry a revolver all the time. Wherever you carry your pistol, that's where this kata begins. Is where you carry your pistol is where it needs to come from.
Right.
And so you come up, and to me, I kind of like the compressed ready because it's almost like where my hands meet the gun to go away in my draw. You got to figure out your draw stroke and go with it. I can't teach you a whole draw stroke here. It would take too long. But think about economy of motion and straight lines. If you can get that muzzle on the bad guy as soon as possible and make that muzzle go straight towards the bad guy, you're doing good. That's my philosophy on fighting from the handgun is that you're going to your handgun because things have gone to hell in a handbasket is a good way to put it. So my thought on that is pistol fighter, get that muzzle on the bad guy as soon as you can. So I will speed rock out of the holster if you think about that, retention, whatever you want, so that the pistol is pointed at the bad guy and then punches straight out towards my extension position, just like we did in the last thing we were talking about. So that's kind of where you get it.
One.
Yeah. So this one's just as boring. It just takes longer. You got to make sure you get a good grip on that the best you can. I know some of us carry deep concealment and you don't always carry the gun you want with the holster you want. And I'm a realist when it comes to that stuff. I carry a pocket pistol a lot, a pocket revolver, a 5-shot LCR. Is that the best weapon I want to go to fight a terrorist with? No, not even close. But it works for my lifestyle. I've been moving all week. I'm moving houses. So I've got that revolver in my pocket all the time. It's not the best of options, but last ditch, it works. But so you got to get it. All that to say, you want to get as good a firing grip on your pistol as you can, or as quickly as you can. Get that firing grip during the draw stroke. You don't want to drop your pistol as it comes out, and you don't want to shoot yourself. I think I always tell students, the worst thing you could ever do in a gunfight is shoot yourself.
Right.
I think the second worst thing you could do is drop your gun. So you probably want to get a good grip on that thing before it comes out of the holster so you don't drop it or accidentally shoot yourself. Don't do.
I didn't think about that, but those are the things that are bound to happen. You're all freaked out and nervous anyway. Yeah.
Don't keystone cop it. Get a good grip on it. Get a good grip on it, rip it into that retention position, punch it straight out towards your bad guy, and do your up drill. And so that one of the last drills is that presentation.
So I've heard to start firing as soon as you come up. So if you have a magazine of 10, so you start firing on your way up. How do you feel about that?
Maybe, maybe not. So I rip to that retention position in case my world changes. I plan to get that gun up to my face to see the sights to make great hits because I don't want to hurt anybody else. I'm going to be mean here. I'm not a New York police officer that has immunity that can just fire willy-nilly down the street and hit 3 or 4 civilians and miss my intended target. That's not good.
Yep.
You got to get so at any time you can get that gun up to your face, see those sights, and press the trigger. I'm even writing a book right now called Point Shooting. I'm writing the book on point shooting, and I'm telling you, anytime you can, get that gun up to your face and a great two-hand hold and press that trigger and see that front sight and make a good hit. Just because I can guarantee the hit when I do that. From the hip, I'm not guaranteeing hits. I teach a class called Point Shooting, and it's an advanced class, but I generally get everybody hitting man-sized targets out to 10 yards from their hips, which is, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hokey pokey. I tell people it's a parlor trick, and we'll work on it until you get it. But you can do it. But if I'm at 10 yards and I have the time, wouldn't you rather get the pistol up to your face and guarantee a hit than trying to shoot from the hip?
Yes.
So
and I didn't think about even the incidentals involved there.
Yeah. But and I teach people a little differently too. And I think I'm the only instructor out there that problem number one is you have to survive the incident. Whatever happens, you got to survive. Problem number two is you've got to live with what you did or did not do. So if I fired from the hip willy-nilly because I was scared and fired 2 rounds real quick and then brought the gun to my face and ended the attack, and one of those rounds hit a kid down the street, the probability of that is super low. It doesn't happen very often, but how would I feel and how would I live with myself if I shot a kid on accident when I could have got the gun up to my face and made a good shot?
Yep,
so on the
2 seconds more to make sure.
For me, it's half a second. I can. If I draw and stroke if I do the draw stroke and just go to the hip and fire, I can do it in a little less than a second. If I get the gun up to my face and make a shot, and this is from an open holster, I tested it without concealment. If I get it up there, I can do it in about 1.3 seconds. So yeah, it's literally about half a second. So yeah, if you fired and accidentally hit a kid, would you do everything you ever could to take that shot back?
Absolutely.
So I would only fire from the hip if I can't get the gun to my face. So I tell students, if somebody's running at you and you speed rock that gun out, just rip it, and they jump on you, well, you're in a firing position. Yeah. You're in the firing position, fire.
Right.
The world changed in the second that you went for your gun. So anyways, that's a long road to go to. Yes and no. No, I wouldn't just fire rounds willy-nilly. And I live in the free state, so I carry a 17-round magazine in my Wonder 9. Yeah, I wouldn't just willy-nilly throw rounds out there unless it was, last-ditch effort and I knew I was going to make hits. So just something to think about. You're not me, but...
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Because, and that goes back to master the alignment. So do the hard work, put in the, the stuff that's not as glamorous so that when it counts, you're there and you don't have to worry about firing on the upstroke.
Yeah, and the last drill I think about, and it's more of a thought exercise, is once you get that gun up, you need to control the recoil and do multiple shots. And I tell students if it's under 5 yards or actually probably 4 yards, I think about the length of a car. I'm teaching I was teaching a student yesterday. I'm like, see this distance? Oh yeah, that's about my car, right? It's underneath your car right now. Just grip it and rip it. Just grip the snot out of the gun and rock that trigger because that guy is too close. If you get out behind a car length, you need to slow your firing down and get some good hits. And for me, that's about a half second per round. If you think of your splits, so two shots per second, you should be able to control the gun pretty good. If you can, in your training, get to where you draw the gun and that first round goes up and it goes click, click, about that pace. If you think that, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, that's about your shot pace, and it's a half second or give or take. If you can slow yourself down to that and get yourself to run that gun at that pace, you'll do way better hits and you'll be able to conserve ammo and you just don't get all excited.
Yep.
Yeah. And, we get excited, and I got to tell you, I've been excited too, and just pulled that trigger as fast as the gun will run and not hit anything. So slow down and make some hits if you can. If the guy is on top of you, just grip it and rip it. So there's kind of my 4 drills, I guess you would go. That's my basic. There's my basic stuff, and I'll add facing and I'll add movement in there as I go. But when I go back to basics, I'll go to the wall drill. I'll go to the up drill, and I'll go to just a basic presentation.
And the basics is where the foundation is built. So, I mean, that's the most important stuff right there.
Yeah, and once you master those, but really with a handgun, it seems like I get to the point where I'm the master, and I go out there and I start doing all this cool moving and stuff, and then all of a sudden my shooting it takes a nosedive, and I'm like, back to basics.
Back to the wall.
Yeah,
Where's
back
my
to the
penny?
wall and up drills. Yep, exactly.
And my wife is going to be mad at me again.
Yeah, well, at least I'm not running around the backyard scaring the neighbors, but.
That's true. Luckily, we don't have neighbors very closely, so we're there.
I just moved, and now my neighbors have a 2-story house, and it overlooks the new backyard. And I wonder what they're gonna. I wonder what they're gonna say when I put targets out there and they see me running around with my rifle and my handgun out there.
Yeah, we had that. We had a yard that the neighbor's house was taller, the 2-story, and it was we called it the fishbowl. Yep, we're in the fishbowl, getting watched by the neighbors. Yeah. I was
I'm in Texas, so we'll see if they call the cops or not.
Right. Well, we run around with our airsoft guns all weekend, and nobody's ever called the cops on us. So, hey.
Oh, that's what I'm telling them. Airsoft.
Yeah, exactly. Airsoft. We have good neighbors out in the country. We had a guy move in across the street. Great gentleman, but you always got to worry, they're coming from the Bay Area and things like that. So we're like, how's this new neighbor going to be? Well, he was so excited that he got to the country and could shoot his guns. I swear, the first 2 months, every night, every weekend, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, go for it, dude. Have fun, Welcome to country life.
That's so funny. You walk over there to see what he's shooting. You and I are going to get along great.
Right? Yeah, I was like, we are going to have a glorious relationship, man. So, yeah, good times.
Well, I hope that answers your questions, and that's where I would start. And then once you get out to the live range, you can prove all that stuff that you've done dry practice live, and then you can start working on recoil management.
Yeah, I know. You got me excited of this possibility of possibly coming to California. So I'm going to have to put in the hard work because, you get me out on the range. I'm going to have to be like, oh, yeah, I was practicing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to crack that nut and get out there and teach a class in California, but it's hard. I tried to do one and it got canceled because there wasn't enough people. So, if you guys are interested, shoot me an email, ben@modernselfprotection.com, and I'll see if I can get a class out there in California.
And what's the Apple one? Appleseed.
Oh, the
we
Appleseed
actually
project.
have a pretty big Appleseed project group in California. I wonder if that would be a possible avenue to get people interested in the pistol class.
Yeah, that might be, and they might have a range I could use too. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I got some
believe it or
contacts.
not, Tom Sticks over at the Armed Squirrels Project, he's big into Appleseed, and he said that, believe it or not, they actually have a really big group out here for Appleseed. So I don't know, just an idea for you.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to call Tom. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. No problems then. So, Alrighty, so why don't you, beat them over the head with where to find you, because we got to get them out to some classes, and I really would hope they check out Modern Self-Protection, because like I say, I've just learned tons of shooting information there. Learning the gun lingo, for one thing, because like I say, it's like a whole new language. And then just great tools to use for self-awareness and things like that. So.
Yeah, go to modernselfprotection.com. And when I do gun stuff, I normally go deeper than we did on this podcast. I would explain dry practice and go through a safety brief and everything, and then start going through all these drills. And yeah, I get way deep into the weeds on one subject at a time. And then a lot of them are stuff that you can do to protect yourself. I like to go back to basics. And it seems like all of my negative reviews on iTunes are people that just hear the basic episode. Well, this guy's driving around in his truck and he's just talking about situational awareness. And I'm like, yep, back to basics, those things that will keep you alive when everything else fails, Be aware of your surroundings and people that are trying to hurt you. So I'll go back to basics all the time and talk about little things you can do to keep yourself safe, to work on your awareness, to look out for this, that, and the other thing. Here's some of the things that are going on in the world, like, one of the things I just talked about was that, did you know that, home invasions are getting more prevalent, and home invasion teams seem to be the norm, 3 to 5 guys.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of sucks. It's no longer one guy forcing in the door. We want to play with 3 of us. Yeah, it's because they're wimps.
Yeah, exactly. They need their buddies to. Yeah, exactly.
But stuff like that I'll talk about on the podcast, and we'll go deep into versus I've got my little pocket gun versus I want my Wonder 9 with 17 rounds. Things you can do and tricks and trades and all that stuff. We go way deep into that. So it's not just stuff. And also, I just moved into a new house. I'm doing a podcast. It'll be in the past, because the magic of podcasting is time travel here.
Right.
I'm doing a podcast. I'm recording a podcast this week, but that'll be a little while ago for you guys on putting in your home security system, the first thing you do and how to do it, and some of the little tips and tricks there. And, hey, if we can keep these guys out of our lives so we don't have to have the fight, that's the only way to win every fight, is not to have one. Sun Tzu, Art of War, and all sorts of everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I'm big into in my podcast, is just keeping you safe and keeping your family safe. Everything else we'll work on.
Yep. That's what I preach, is learn it, know it, but man, if you can avoid it, just do. Because, when you get out there, like, obviously, we play a ton of airsoft, and somebody's always coming back shot. That's the object, is to destroy the other team. And usually you lose 1 or 2 from your own team in the process as well. And, that's not cool. You don't want that to happen. So, if you can avoid it, avoid it. So, but no, your podcast, beautiful stuff. And like I say, they need to get listening, because it's a great show. And I've learned a ton. So I appreciate your work.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate what you're doing over here and letting me be a part of it. I found out that you did all the audio on audible.com for your books, and you recorded them all. Yeah, now I'm going to have to go buy all the books so I can listen to them.
There you go. That's, I just actually redid Day After Disaster, and just gave it a little love, because it was the first book I ever wrote. And so I gave it a little refinement, and I need to go back and redo all that audio. But man, that audio it takes some time to lay down, and then all the editing. So yeah. Yeah,
Audible says its duration is 10 hours and 18 minutes unabridged. So, yeah, you get at least 10 hours of talking into a microphone, right?
Yes.
No problem.
Yes. No big deal. By the end, you're like, the throat's just so dry. And then you get to sit there for like 20 hours and do, the editing on it. So.
Not to mention going back and recording half of it again, right?
Yes. Yeah, that happens, because you can't just clip in little pieces. I usually, if there's something that's big time messed up, I'll just redo the whole chapter,
Oh, that's so much work. You guys that don't know, Sara is like the master of the workflow around here. She's so far ahead. I'm not the only podcaster that knows your workflow, Sara, and goes, wow, you are such a great hard worker. I wish I was that good at it. So keep it up.
Thank you. That's all about organization. I just set it all up at the beginning, and then we just kill it, and then I get to be lazy and not worry about it. So
Yeah, I do that in the opposite order, lazy, not worry about it, and then go, oh no, last minute I need to do something. So yeah, you're just awesome. I appreciate being part of what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Ben. Thanks, Ben, so much for coming on the show. It's always my honor to have you on, and I just really wanted to do this episode as soon as I actually listened to an episode on Ben's podcast, and it was so great that I wanted to be able to share that information with my audience, so that's why I specifically wanted to have Ben on for this show. It was a nice long interview packed with great information, so I don't want to take up any more of your time today. However, I do want to remind all my Patreon members to get over to my website and get caught up on all the bonus audio that I have over there. I had over a half hour of bonus audio last week from that great interview with Sam Bradley. Really good stuff over there. So don't forget to head on over there and take advantage of all the free material that you have access to. And if you would like to become a Patreon contributor, head on over to www.patreon.com/Changing Earth and get signed up, and you will have access to all of that great information as well. Thank you all for listening, and you guys are why I do what I do. I love to hear all the great feedback. It just keeps coming, and it really puts a smile on my face and brightens up my day to hear that you guys are really loving and enjoying not only my stories, but all the great information that I try to put together to educate your brains at the same time. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, remember, dream, survive, thrive.
Thank you for joining Sara for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, and Battle for the South at www.author.sarafhathaway.com. If you love Sara's books and this podcast, please head over to Amazon or iTunes and let everyone know by leaving a review.